I'm a firm believer that every player has been gifted with an ability. Let them do that. Let them do that. Don't tell them not, but make sure they can do it under the same system. You know what I mean? And I think when you look at business, it's the same thing. You've got to give people the creativity. Everybody's got strength. So if you put everybody in a position of strength, what am I really managing? I'm managing the person and not managing their job. I'm managing to make sure they stay on task. That's it. Because you give them that, you have to have that much confidence in your business partners and your workers. And the same on the field. When you're playing, you know what these guys can do. Let them do their job. Just every once in a while, you have to guide them to the left or guide them to the right to make sure that there's no holes or where there's a weakness. That's all.
Hey folks, welcome back for another episode of What's Next. I'm just stoked to introduce my next guest, and in part because of the crazy legacy through the game of soccer, which is going to be amazing to talk about, but also because we were a couple of snot-nosed kids going to school at San Diego State trying to figure out how the hell to get out of there alive, which is probably an episode in its own. But the fact that we were both here, I think gainfully employed, which is pretty awesome. Marcelo Balboa, Hall of Fame, just had his jersey retired with the Colorado Rapids, first guy ever, number 17, 3 World Cups, a captain of the World Cup team, player of the year, multiple years, and maybe most importantly, the most rocking mullet through the 90s that you could have ever possibly had. And you've probably recognized him of late as the voice of the MLS, seen him on Univision, ABC, ESPN, any place you can find a soccer match, especially if it's telecast both in Spanish and English. So without any further ado, Marcelo, welcome to the show, man. Great to have you.
Buddy, if people only knew about the haircut you had at San Diego State, we won't even talk about the shaved head. I don't even know, what was it called?
The Bosworth, maybe?
Mohawk.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we were all screwed up back then, man.
We might post a little snippet up there in the upper hand corner. So if you're watching online, maybe that'll pop up.
They won't recognize me with the flat top.
Well, hey, we're going to jump into it, man, because you've gone from the locker room to the boardroom to kind of like our living room, which is a pretty amazing transition. And through that, you've coached, you've been on the business side of things. I know you've got your hands in a lot of things, especially it comes for being an advocate for soccer here in the US. Having grown up under a dad who played the game in a foreign country, and now here, we're just talking about our parents. You've seen it all, which has been great. And one of the most pressing questions we get from the audience is, who are, ex and current pro athletes or high performers in college, is I was known as this when I played, a pro baseball player, a hockey player, a soccer player. And when I retired or the game kicked me out, one of the two, I didn't know who the hell I was. And so talk to us. I mean, you 3 World Cups, you've traveled the globe playing the game, inaugural season in the MLS, one of the starting guys have really founded pro soccer again here in the country after the NASL days. So how did you go from Marcelo, the soccer guy, the all national team guy, to not that guy?
Let's just say this. Modern day now, kids make enough money, athletes make enough money that when they're done, they're done. They don't have to worry about working. They just have to worry about investing it properly. Okay. When we played, we had no help. We had no clue what to do with our money, how to invest it, where to invest it. So I'll just say this, that when I retired, I got into drinking. I was hanging out with the wrong people, got divorced. You name it, it happened all to me because I was not prepared to not be Marcelo Balboa. I was not prepared to just be a father, a good husband, a good person. I just sank myself into people who fueled the fire, who I was, wanted to hang out with me. And back then we didn't know how to prepare to retirement. So when I stopped being Marcelo Balboa, when I retired, the athlete, I didn't know how to not be that guy. So it took me, probably a good 5 to 8 years after I retired, even though, listen, they got me into TV right away, but I went from 175 to almost 200 pounds from the drinking, from the not taking care of myself, not knowing who I was. So I turned out I wasn't a good father at that point. I wasn't a good husband at that point. I wasn't just a good person. I just wanted to be around people who wanted to keep talking about who I was. And it took me a long time to finally realize where I was. I had two moms sit me down because I was coaching my kid, and they both looked at me like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "You're just abusing your son on the soccer field. You're telling me he's doing everything wrong, this and that." And it kind of went home, and it just hit me that, okay, I want my son to be who I was. I want, you know what I mean? And it just, little by little, just put me in a better place. I started realizing things. But it took a long time, man, to figure out that, you know what? I love being a father. I enjoyed being a husband. And I lost myself, man. Between 5 and 8 years, between the drinking and this and that, I wrecked a lot of things and had to go back and do a lot of apologizing for who I was and what I was until I found out that, you know what? I loved being a father. I loved being a husband. I loved my life. I just didn't know how to transition from being an athlete to being okay, being a father and a husband. And like I said, it took me a little bit of time, but it finally sank in with some good help with some friends, some counseling. Life after that was pretty damn good, man.
Wow.
Nobody knows. Listen, I'll be honest with you, I haven't told anybody this side of my life because it's just something that's been private.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of guys. A lot of guys had a hard time back in the 90s and the early 2000s of transitioning from being an athlete to figuring out what the rest of their life's going to look like. Because when we retire at 35 now it's a little bit more, but we were retiring between 34 and 35.
Yeah.
You got more than half your life left. So you got to try to figure out what you want to be and who you want to be. And now they're doing a better job of getting help. But we had no help back in the 80s and 90s.
Man, I appreciate you being candid about that, because honestly, the DMs start with these soft questions that I'm answering.
Yeah.
And within 30 seconds, I think it's still prevalent today. Like, I don't know who the hell I am, man. And between the alcohol, the friends who say yes to everything, to your point, they want to talk about the heyday all the time.
Yeah.
Ego loves that stuff. So
Oh, yeah.
I appreciate you bringing that up. And it begs the question then, if you could go back, knowing what you know now and your passion for being a great dad, a loving husband, I know you as just being an awesome human. So thank you for being raw about the fact that you felt you went away from your North Star. Looking back on it, what would you have either done differently, or what would you have told your younger self? Hey, man, look out for this and go do that.
You know, I have a hard time with that because everything you do in life, you learn from. You're
Mhm.
not always going to learn from winning and for things going great. So things didn't go great. So it made me really dig deep to realize what I was doing. I got lucky enough that I didn't have friends that got me into drugs or anything like that. So it's always tough because I learned a lot. In those 5 to 8 years of myself, I learned so much. You learn so much more from failure than succeeding. And I think that I learned so much about who I was. I found a more peaceful way of life. I found better ways of outlets for my energy with going on hikes and playing Sunday league soccers and going on bike rides with my kids. And so I would love to say I would have said this, but then maybe life would have turned out differently. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So
Yeah.
what I would say to my younger self is, like anything else, I would love to say prepare yourself when you retire, but no one knew that back then. So the only thing I would say is learn your lessons and don't repeat them. I think that would be important for me because I learned a lot of lessons through tearing my ACL right before the World Cup to you name it, it's happened through the drinking. And I learned a lot. Who your friends really are, I think that was important to me too, as I found out who my friends were
Mm.
and who the friends that were my friends because I was Marcelo Balboa. So I eliminated a lot of people who were just my friends, acquaintances, we'll say, who wanted to hang out with me, wanted to go drink, wanted to go party. And I eliminated a lot of those and kept the people that believed in me, that saw the good in me, that wanted me to get out of this funk that I was in. Like I said, those people are very important to me.
It's sage advice, right? And at the end of the day, there's no hacks or cheat codes as
Oh,
you've just described. It's what you learn. But I will say the premise of really starting the show was we want experience, not opinion. And your 5 to 8 years of experience of, I wish I didn't do it, but I learned a lot. I'm a big fan of saying, don't pay dumb tax twice. Cause you know me as a goalkeeper, I've paid a lot of dumb tax. Just don't pay it twice. And so I think that's great advice for young athletes or anybody even changing a career and thinking about your next thing. spend time thinking about where you've learned. And if you've got blind spots, find somebody who's been there before and just ask them these kind of questions, man. Cause I think that's a really key component. And you sharing that is, quite frankly, an amazing thing to share, given that you haven't done a lot of that. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
If you look at now where soccer is and you think about, okay, you made this transition, you got thrown right into broadcasting, and probably part of it is, thank God, right? You had something going right next. There's a lot of great people that sit on your side of the camera that talk about multiple games, right? Whether it's Vin Scully with the Dodgers going way back to our heyday, to some of the guys now, but you're in the crowd of people that, and when I'm around soccer culture and I mention your name, without fault, it's like, I love listening to that guy. I know part of that is just you're a good storyteller, but what craft did you have to hone and learn? And did you do it like professionally, or did you mentor up with somebody? How did that part go in the transition?
I've been blessed enough to be around such quality people that, listen, my job, when you have a play-by-play and an analyst, the play-by-play guy is the captain of the ship. He directs the ship. Your job is to stay with him. If he leans right, I lean right. If he leans left, I lean left. And the important thing is always being there to give your experience, because people want to hear about when you're on the field and how it feels. And so I stuck to more of trying to explain to people what maybe they didn't see on TV, or what they didn't see in that play, or maybe what this guy was thinking when the ball was crossed, that why he didn't mark this guy. So I didn't do it professionally, because back then, listen, I started in 2003. So I think I was probably one of the first players from MLS that retired and went right into broadcasting, doing bilingual Spanish and English. So it took me a while. Listen, my first day, I went to work for Mark Cuban. If there was a company called HD Next, he was the first one that had high definition TV. And I told him I really didn't want to do it. And they're like, listen, our first game's in Colorado. Just come in the booth, come sit and relax, do the game. I'm like, okay. I sat down. They didn't tell me how to prepare. They brought me a lineup sheet. I'm sitting there like, okay, because I knew both teams anyway.
Right.
And they're like, okay, go. I kind of looked around, what? And Glenn Davis took off like a rocket. He started doing the game. He threw me in every once in a while. They started talking in my ear. I talked to them back on air because I didn't know to push the talk button. So it was trial by error. But I got to be honest with you, little by little, I started enjoying it. And I didn't want to get into it, but I don't know if you remember a guy named JP Dellacamera, who still does the women godfather of TV. 3 years before I retired, he came up to me and said, you should do TV. You should be an analyst. And I'm like, hell no. Yeah, I'm like, nah, it's just not like, he's like, you're articulate, you know the game, you've played in 3 World Cups. He goes, we don't have players. We don't have ex-players. And I said, no, I'm not going to retire. And then when I retired, they threw me into TV. So listen, I love it because I get to see practices. I get to see the way coaches manage people. You get to talk to the coaches, the players. It's a different way of seeing it now. And I even like the referees now. I didn't like them when I played, but now I like the referees. But
we'll edit that part out. We'll edit that out.
No, I didn't have to edit that out at all. They know it now. But it was again, trial by error. You walk in, and I've learned little by little. Then if you overanalyze, or if you tell, a lot of people get caught in telling people the obvious. What you see on TV is what I'm going to tell you. And you have to try to explain how that built there and how that happened. And maybe if this happened, this, you know what I mean? You try to explain it, but it's been an evolving evolution of learning for me. And it's been great, man. It's been great. I've done World Cups. I've done Champions League finals. So I've done MLS Cups. I've done Copa Americas in English and Spanish. So just lucky enough, I guess, when Pop said you need to be bilingual, now I know why.
Wow. Tip of the cap. Right. Louis gets good heads up there for sure. So you mentioned something interesting there. So the play-by-play guy's the captain, which I find is interesting coming from a guy who was the captain for the U.S. national team. In the world of soccer, I'm not sure there's a higher accolade that is earned, right? You didn't win a lottery to get that. So you earn that. And yet you now go into an environment where there's a different captain. I love that terminology. As you sit there and follow that lead, were you like an alpha dog captain, or were you I know you from the college side where you were a leader by example. You weren't barking at everybody and bitch slapping everybody. You were like, I'm just going to go work that hard and follow me. Was that what it was like with the national team? And then as you took it into broadcasting, was that okay, I see the lead here, and then I'm just going to follow that?
I found a happy medium because in college, I came in as a national team player with Eric, and I wasn't comfortable. I didn't have my voice at that point. My dad
Mm.
always said, you got to lead. So my goal was to lead by example. No one's going to outwork me. No one's going to work harder than me. No one's going to tackle harder than me. No one's going to jump higher than me. So I tried to lead by example through college. As I went into the national team, little by little, to think about it, we were with the same core of guys from 89 almost to 90. God, what was it? 95, 96. Same
Yeah.
group of guys playing in the 90, 94, almost playing in the and into the 98 World Cup. I would say 3/4 of that team, we stayed together. So I understood. And again, it took a trial by error. Sometimes you bark at a guy and it didn't work. So understanding who you can bark at, who you can't, who you have to put your arm around, who you don't have to put your arm around. And like I said, it took me time to understand, but you have to evolve. You just can't be a leader by example. You have to be a leader because you have to be able to push people in the right place. You got to be able to mark this zone, push the guy over. It took a little time to find my voice, and it's not comfortable. It wasn't comfortable to be yelling and screaming, but it did make life a little easier to tell Sorber to move left and close that lane while Tab tucked in.
Yep.
But I'm still a guy who leads by example. I'd rather just keep my mouth shut and just work hard.
Oh, yeah. And that's a DNA thing, right? I mean, we can try to add the other elements. I think there are some people who they're really good communicators without barking, but they do in a good way. There's others who are they're so good at what they do. People want to follow their actions. I don't think either one of them is wrong. But as I'm listening to you say that, I mean, again, your range has been so amazing. So I'm sure you've seen the off the field backside of business of soccer. Do those things transfer? When I'm hearing you say that, those are all things that we talk about in business, right? When you say this guy's going to go close the lane so Tab can tuck in, if I've got a division in our golf clothing company, I want our designers to work with our marketing team, and I'm going to push them out in front, and I'm going to have the marketing team come in and support. But once that's launched, they completely shift in the other direction. It seemed pretty transferable to me, but I'd be curious, as you've taken it from the field into the booth and then also seen it in business, does it work that way? Or where have you not seen it work that way?
I think they're similar. I think they're similar because you have to be able to manage people, and you have to manage people on the field. You have to be able to let people and players be themselves and be creative and give them responsibility, just like you do in the business world. So I think it's always about being a leader. It's how you manage, just like a coach, how you manage your players or how you direct them. You know what I mean? Because if you're directing them, telling them if you're that helicopter boss who's telling them what to do, the micromanager, people don't want to work for you. And if you're that kind of captain, no one wants to play for you. No one will respect you. So being able to let players have this, and I'm a firm believer that every player has been gifted with an ability. Let them do that. Let them do that. Don't tell them not, but make sure they can do it under the same system. You know what I mean? And I think when you look at business, it's the same thing. You've got to give people their creativity. Everybody's got strengths. So if you put everybody in a position of strength, what am I really managing? I'm managing the person and not managing their job. I'm managing to make sure they stay on task. That's it. Because you give them that, you have to have that much confidence in your business partners and your workers. And the same on the field. When you're playing, you know what these guys can do. Let them do their job. Just every once in a while, you have to guide them to the left or guide them to the right to make sure that there's no holes or where there's a weakness. That's all.
I'm going to take a really quick right turn here because I wouldn't be doing it justice if I didn't talk about U.S. soccer in general. Do you think that's our challenge as a country, that we tend to so micromanage players from the youngest of ages, it seems like, all the way up the ladder? I've got my twin boys who are now 24 and both played in college, two totally different experiences. One who was at Caltech, played under a great English coach for the last 3 years. We're just like, go do your thing, man. And he exploded. Others, and I just wonder, do you think that's like, is that part of the problem? And will it ever change?
Too big of a country for it to change, because just in one state, how many different systems do you play? How many guys have played at a high level? How many guys have played at a high school level? Now they're coaching kids, and we're so worried about winning. We're so worried about the results that we're not focusing on these kids. And the most important thing is the technical side. When you've got 8, 9, 10-year-old, you're not worried about tactics. But nowadays, everything is tactical. Everybody talks tactics. A kid can't track a ball. He can't pass a ball. but we want them to control it and we want them to pass it correctly. So listen, everybody talks about this pay for play model and we need to change it. Great. How are you going to change it? That's my biggest pet peeve is everybody saying, I saw a thing on Landon, Landon's talking, youth soccer's terrible. All right, how do you fix it? He didn't give an answer.
Yeah.
Listen, I can tell you right now, in this country, there's how many clubs? Millions of clubs all over this country. You're going to tell that coach that's making $100,000, the executive director, that everybody gets to play for free now, and you guys have to find other ways to make money. That's not happening. It's not. Yep. Let's be real honest. There's no real solution for pay for play. Yep. There's no solution. So we either have to find a way to make it work in our benefit, or we just got to shut up and let it go. Because at the end of the day, listen, we have good players in this country, and everybody talks about, oh, we need to do great. You know what? We're 30 years into MLS. England, South America is 100 years. So we're 70 years behind everybody else, but we expect to be better than everybody else. That's what I don't understand. Yeah. You know what I mean? But youth soccer, listen, it's difficult. You're a good example of your kids. One had a great experience, one had a crappy experience. You know what I mean? The only thing I'll say is if you have a talented kid that's playing with the 9-year-olds and he's scoring 6, 7 goals a game, take him off that team and put him with the 11s. Put him in an environment where he's going to learn. Put him in an environment where now he's going to be, out of 11, he's going to be 7. Make him work. Make him work to be number 1 at the 12 years old. That's going to make that kid, that's going to make him competitive. Don't leave your kid in a position where you can walk out every Sunday and say, oh, my kid scored 5 goals. My kid scored 6 goals. That's great. That's awesome for your ego, but you're not doing anything for your kid. Listen, the only way we develop kids is by putting them in an environment where they're uncomfortable, because now they've got to learn to adapt. They've got to learn the mental side of things of how to work harder, and they have to be able to fight now to be the number 1 guy. But a lot of parents don't want to do that because they like their kid scoring 5 goals and he's the star of that team. But if we're looking to build our sport, take that superstar 10-year-old, put him with the 11s. If he does well and he's the best player on the 11th, put him on the 12s. Put him in a position where he's not the best player. And I'm going to guarantee you that kid will develop a lot quicker than a kid that's playing at his own age group scoring 6 goals a week.
Yep. Here's a great thing that I think is, I'm going to totally put words in your mouth, but my guess is if I made you an offer you couldn't refuse and said, come run my golf clothing company with my international sales team, you'd look at that team the same way you just talked about 9-year-olds, and you'd find my 3 top performers that are totally on cruise control in territories that are way too easy, making way too much money, and you go make them uncomfortable, and they'd probably crush it and grow, right? So when we talk about these transferable skills, the best part comes out of these examples. So yes, U.S. soccer, broken, I agree with you. We like to use 1-3-1, which is bring me 1 problem, 3 solutions, and one of them's got to involve you. And I hate it when someone's like, here's the problem, and then there's crickets. It's like, we can all do that. Easy. That doesn't take any thought.
In life, it's easy to be negative. When you ask somebody a question, does a positive thing come out or the first thing out of their mouth is negative? It's negative. Yeah. That's what drives me crazy. Why can't we be positive with each other? Why can't we find a positive? Come in and say, well, I think we can do this. And maybe that's a solution. Well, the problem is now we go back to negativity again. For me, there's too much negativity. We just have a habit of the first word out of our mouth is always something that's not a positive saying. It's a negative saying. And that's where the conversation starts. And from when you start something negative, it's very hard to flip that bad boy around.
If you're listening or watching this, what I hope you're taking away here is that you don't have to believe that where we started this thing, you, the athlete, are also a very valuable asset as you enter your career, the work world, whether you choose to do it or not, whether your vocation stays the same, your occupation stays the same, is somewhat irrelevant. This stuff is all transferable. It just takes a second to step back and say, like Marcelo did, hey, this guy's the captain and I'm following his lead. Guess what? That looks a lot like what had happened on the soccer field. It kind of does. Yeah. Don't be negative in the workplace, in your new job, in your new company you're starting. It's impossible to flip. It happens in sport. It's going to happen over here in life. Like, these things are absolutely transferable. As we kind of get to the last parts here, I'm going to save the legacy question for last. But as you're thinking through, okay, I've made this transition. We're all a work in progress for sure. So I don't think any of us would ever admit we're done. But as you're looking out there, to use the analogy of like, what's the next number 17 hanging in the rafters? Do you transition this into a bigger media career? Is it like, I'm stoked being where I'm at and I'm doing X? Like, what does the next evolution of Marcelo Balboa look like?
Every day you got to learn something. Okay. So did I start playing this game when I went to San Diego State, or I would have played AYSO back in California to be a Hall of Famer? No, because we didn't know anything about the Hall of Fame. There was no professional league. Did I play soccer to have my number retired? No, that was never my intention. You know what I mean? I chose soccer because it was in my heart. It's in my blood. And there was nothing that put a smile on my face. And listen, I played every sport possible, from water polo, baseball, football, track and field, you name it. I played every sport possible. I played it because my dad said, find something that you love. And if you love it, you'll enjoy it. And I played everything, but nothing gave me the joy of running around a soccer field, chasing a ball, hitting people. And they always laughed at me in high school, especially my girlfriend, who told me to quit soccer, go to school and get a real job. And a lot of people said that. They made fun of me at school. It was just reality. Back in 85, when I graduated, no, there was nothing about soccer. You couldn't listen. Our CIF high school games in California probably had about 20, 25 coaches on the sideline, because that's where they used to recruit the kids. Now it's the developmental academies and all that stuff. I just love this game. I couldn't imagine myself. My dad's the same way. My mom's the same way. I coach. I do TV. Am I going to use my retirement of 17 to move on? That's who I am. Listen, I wake up at 5:30 every morning with my girlfriend. She goes off to work. I walk the dog at 5:30 in the morning. We go 6-7 miles. I get up after that. I come home, have a little cup of coffee. I get in my car. I drive all the way down to Dick's Sporting Goods Park to train with the Rapids Academy, the 16s and the 19s. Then I come home. I relax. I do some yard work. Life is good, man. Life is good. My kids are good. My mom and dad are good. So I'm not looking to hit a huge payday because I retired 17. If the right opportunity comes for the right business or coaching or something different, then I would consider it. But man, you got one life, and I don't want to be that guy that says, well, I wish I could have done this more. No, I'm going to enjoy every moment. I don't know what tomorrow brings for me. Yep. I really don't. I could go to sleep today and not wake up tomorrow. So I can damn sure tell you right now, I'm going to enjoy today, and I'm going to enjoy it to its fullest and enjoy what I've done. And then I go to bed and pray to God that he allows me to wake up for another beautiful, blessed day. And I will move on my way and go enjoy that day. I'm not going to let a day pass now that I'm 58 and not try to enjoy that day.
Man, you're preaching the choir there, man. Marcelo, I appreciate that. It's your candidness in the close was the way you opened, your humility. Folks, I hope if you're listening and not watching that you feel the joy that you're seeing on both of our faces right now. Being in and around something that you love has so much range, but when you do it, it's going to last you a lifetime. Right. And so you've said that about soccer. It was a great gift to you. You've given back to it. And it's almost like it keeps trying to outgive to you. And what an amazing harmony. So thank you for sharing that. Folks, I hope you've enjoyed the show. Please share it with somebody who you think needs to hear this. Number one, it helps us grow. But more importantly, it's going to make an impact on somebody's life. I guarantee you the way this show opened and the way it closed is going to mean something to somebody to get them to think about, yeah, maybe there's just a different way that brings a bigger smile to my face and has more meaning. And Marcelo, I appreciate you sharing very candidly what that is. And I can't thank you enough, my friend. Appreciate you.
Buddy, thanks for having me. It's so good to see you again.
All right, you too. Well, thanks for joining us on What's Next. We'll catch you on the flip side.